Hey y'all, it's Lori with JFrog, and we are at DevNexus. This is day 2, and I am with Richard and Barry. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Barry, go ahead.
I am Barry Burd. I am a professor at Drew University of Mathematics and Computer Science. Drew University is a fine liberal arts college in Madison, New Jersey, United States. Boom.
Hi, I'm Richard. I run the JUG Oberpfalz, and I'm co-organizer of the JCon conference in Europe.
And also, I do coordinate for, co-lead for Garden State Java User Group and New York Java Sync.
Okay, so I met you both at the JUG Leader Summit this Monday, Tuesday, whenever it was. And so why is it important to have JUGs, first of all? Why are you JUG leaders?
It's a community. It's all, I mean, you know, sounds corny. It's all about community. The idea of software just being the photons that are inside the machine, that doesn't work in our modern world. We have to be together, we have to coordinate, we have to work together to build a community so that we have a language that's vital, that's real, that can be used, that's part of the culture, that grows with the developers. Yeah?
Absolutely, and you have to whine to other developers and your peers how bad things are, you know? So it's like an AA meeting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think through the bad is where you find the good, right? Like, because then you share your common problems, and then somebody might have a solution because they were stuck there before.
Right,
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, before I started going to JUGs, I worked in isolation, and I made too many mistakes that I shouldn't have made. Mistakes, not mistakes in coding, just mistakes in understanding what Java was all about.
So we just had Sean, who did the keynote, Sean Phillips, up here, and he said one of the things that was really important for a new developer is to practice socializing and socialization. Basically, he said the most successful people are the ones that can communicate. Do you think that's a true statement?
I absolutely agree. So, as we are coming back from the virtual JUGs, going back to the in-person ones, this is what we see. So this gives you so much creativity. His talk was very inspiring on what do you do with Java FX. I never would have thought of doing this. And just like seeing that and talking to people about that gives me so much new ideas what I can do, what we can do. So I totally agree.
I'm going to add one thing to that. If you're an introvert, a very shy developer, and you can't interact with other developers, don't feel bad about that. You're alone. You don't mix in with people. Okay, that's as long as you're not a jerk, right? Jerks we don't like. We don't like people who are haughty or unkind to people. It's important not to be like that. But at all these conferences and at many talks, so many talks, I hear about how important it is to be part of the community and outgoing. And as much as I feel as if that's true, I also want to put a shout out to the people who just don't feel comfortable doing that. You know, try. Go out of your comfort zone because it really, really pays off. It helps you, it helps the community. But if you can't do it, I'm okay with you as long as you're nice to other people.
I think it's good to try to find a buddy. So I think it's funny, people think of me as a very extroverted person. I am obviously at conferences and things like that, but if I had to do networking on my own, for say a marketing event, I'm a wallflower. I get very nervous. And there's something that I think about this community that takes that nervousness away from me.
Yeah.
And it's so nice. I don't feel like I have to compete with anyone. I can talk to a couple people. They can introduce me around. And I think for the introverts, I am at these other events, I try to find the one person that maybe knows the other people, have my little small conversation, and then go back in my hole. Because to me, it's super overwhelming, and I get very nervous, to your point, very scared, intimidated. But at these events, I feel like everyone is on sort of a level playing field. And I think when you hear talks and people saying socialize, get out there, whatever, I think it's a way of helping those introverts know that we all start somewhere.
For the first 8 Java 1s that I went to, I knew no one. and I wandered the hallways looking for faces that I might find familiar. And I remember one event in particular, I think it was 6 or 7 Java 1s on, where I went to their community appreciation event thinking I would surely find someone that I could talk to during the event, and not a single person. And then the things just developed for me. It just happened. Persistence, I don't know. And I have a high tolerance for that kind of thing where, you know, you don't feel like you belong, you feel imposter syndrome, but you just feel like you got to do it because you got to become part of this crowd.
Yeah.
And it's paid off in spades. I mean, it's just wonderful.
So, Richard, you came to me and you said, we want to talk about this. What are you here to talk about today?
Yeah. What is this?
This is how we can make Java more inclusive. So this is a good cue for that. Thank you, Laurie. So we did a talk yesterday about refactoring to Java 20 and how Java is now a hip language again, has never been before. But yeah, you know what I mean. So
Are you saying Java's not dead?
no, not at all. Not this year. Maybe next year again. But this is the tale that rolls by every few months. So Java's dead, and we see that it's not. And with the new release cadence and the new features that are coming up, we found that Java is a very hip language. Wouldn't you agree, Barry?
I've always found it hip.
Okay.
But yeah, there are lots of features that are being added to Java to make it more in concert with the way people are thinking about software development now. Ever since they started the 6-month release cadence, things have just improved enormously in terms of keeping up with those features that other languages are developing, and adding some of our own that are really fantastic, leapfrogging above the other languages, and making things great. I mean, I told you yesterday before our talk, I could take up the entire 50 minutes with talking about what you can do with a certain feature of Java, switch statements, because they put so much love into it.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And there's a new program that might be on the horizon soon called the Ramp Up program, and that's exciting, especially for me because I do most of my Java work teaching students.
Absolutely.
And writing for newbies. And the Ramp Up program is really going to be good for that.
So how is this going to help?
You'll be able to write a very short Hello World program.
And that's seriously going to help.
Yeah. No public static void main, blah, 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 blah. Which I don't care. You know, public static, bring it on. That's fine. But it turns beginners off, right? We've got, right? The solution is coming to that. The solution is going to be very exciting.
So when you think about like boot camps and stuff like that, I never really hear about like Java boot camps. They're more like Python, Go. Like, how are you getting this next generation of developers really interested in a language that, to your point, people call dead all the time, or it's old, not hip? Like, how are you sort of turning the tide on that?
So what I like to do is I like to explore like the career opportunities for Java, and I always say, so you can choose different languages, and I'm not judging here, but just from my experience and how Java helped me. So I got into it by like maybe accident, I don't know. So I don't think it was like a very choice for me, but I just went into the space, and but I found with all the things that are going on with GraalVM, with OpenJDK, so many vendors joining in. So we have a booth here from Microsoft. This is great. So and I'm not focusing my career on like one big company that may decide not to do it anymore because it's not cool anymore. But there are so many different companies. It's so diverse. So I'm pretty sure that I will have a job with my Java knowledge in a few years, and I can still like pay for the shoes of my kids and stuff like that.
Hopefully, as the years go on, you won't have to pay for their shoes; they'll pay for their own.
Nice.
So yeah, that's always on the horizon.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And then there's college. Well, anyway, right. The way I do it is that when I teach Java, I approach it with a certain enthusiasm and passion. there's something about Java that just says to me, this is the right way to do things. Or let's put it this way, it is one very right way to do things. There are other right ways, but Java hits a sort of sweet spot in terms of object-oriented programming for me that says, if I'm going to teach it, and if this is going to be the first impression that my students have of object-oriented programming, Java is now the place to do that. And so when I teach Java, it's not in a monotone, it's with, my hands out and I'm jumping in front of the class, right? Well,
I can attest to that. Yes,
it's
fully
nice.
agreed.
Right, and all the jokes, right?
Yeah, all the bad jokes also.
Oh,
Bad jokes, dad jokes. Okay, so Sean mentioned, and I thought this was really cool that he included it in his presentation, open source, and he gave a lot of love to open source developers. So how do you feel about open source, and again, as like sort of an entryway to start writing your own Java programs?
You were first.
I'm drawing a blank right now.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree. So I built my career in open source, so I worked on open source projects for the last 15 years or so, and it's a great way to get into the space, to learn, to see, but I would not recommend to do it on your own. Find a jug, find a buddy that can help you understand how it works. Most projects are very, very welcoming and open, as the whole Java community is, but there are still like some kind of like frustration points you can get easier over with if you have a buddy. So if you do a pull request and nobody looks at it and you like get frustrated, that can happen, but this is not like because somebody don't like you or you did a bad job. Just maybe you didn't hit like the right spot, or you didn't have the right guidance on that point. So people do not recognize that you are new and you need a little bit extra help to get into it. So that's okay, because nobody was born with this, I can do a pull request on that really big project. So start out, find a buddy, and just do it.
What he said.
Okay. Any last words?
Go
Hey.
Java. What?
And AI. So Frank presented
yes.
an AI API. So we are very hip. We can do AI because everything has to be like AI, ML. So there's an AI API standardization going on. From Frank, you know better, right?
Visual recognition, yes.
Yes.
And that's really exciting because that's an area that well, it's an exciting area. And Java needs to be in that space. Cool, sexy stuff.
Okay.
And it is now with Frank's and Zorhan's SDK.
So go home
Or
Python,
API.
go home Python, and go Java.
All right, thanks guys.
Okay.